today, not the end of our conference, because our tohunga and our rangatira has arrived, and he's going to be our keynote speaker just to close our day today. And before we do that, I want to say that after we have our keynote speaker, we're going to form a panel up here with our speaker, and I've nominated some people to be on that panel in which we just cover the last 2 days asking questions of our panel. Maybe they will be able to answer it, or we can put it back to a speaker to answer. So it might be drawing back too far back, but we'll just close off the day with that. So, e te rangatira e warahi, tēnā koe. Ngā mihi ati kia koe, haere mai rā, ko koe tō tātou rangatira, hei whakakapi ake rā i tā tātou Wananga i nei rā. Nā reira, ngā mihi kia koe. E mōhio atu nei ki ngā pūkenga kei roto i a koe, me ngā whanaungatanga kei a koe me mātou katoa e noho atu nei, a rā anō i runga anō i a Patukeha, me Ngāti Kaua e noho atu nei i konei, ko koe anō tēnei roto no Ngāti Wai o tātua no tērā taha, ko tai mai nei ko koe anō te hoki tēnei, ko tātua no rā. Nā reira, ka mihi atu kia koe, e aku rangatira, ko mai rā te pakipaki mo tēnei o ngā rangatira. Warahi, te kāre.
Kunei te karaki o whakautu pēr. E tātou mā, ka kitea hoki te pānui, tēnei pānui, ka kitea hoki ngā ingoa, he rata. Tainoa ki taku nei ingoa, e wiri hoki nei, tauku nei turi. Nā reira, I wish I was here earlier to listen to the presenters that went before. I was invited to a hui at one of our hapu off the coast there at Ngunguru, Ngāti Takapari. They wanted to know about this Tuia 250 thing. So I went there, and from there came to this event. So I apologize that I haven't been here to listen to the kōrero. I was told by people that were here and turned up at the Ngunguru event that this was a very enjoyable Wananga. This is the only paper I have, unfortunately. So the Voyaging Wananga kaupapa that's on there, and I see that I'm down here to talk about Tuia 250. Tuia 250, and Koko, and Tupaia. I noticed that my name then is, part of my name is connected to the word whakairo and tohunga. I shrunk a bit when I read that. However, I'll take it on the shoulder. Engari, tōku nei mihi tuatahi ki tō tātou nei matua a heke nuku mai. Nāna i o hoki te rangatira runga hoki tēnei kaupapa, ko i o hoki te whakaruru hau mo tātou nei noho ana, i rota hoki tēnei wāhanga. Nā reira, e heke nuku mai, haere tonu atu koe e kara. Haere atu koe ki tērā taho te ara, e kei reira koe e oki, nā reira haere o ti atu. A kāti kauri tēnei ki a tātou. I thought because whakairo was mentioned, I should touch a little bit on whakairo, carving, in a way that it relates to the topic of navigation. When I first became a student in the art of whakairo, I quickly learned that the meeting house was our university. That the whakairo, the tukutuku, the ko whaiwhai ke roto hoki te whare was our writing that recorded our history. And it's that I would like to recite just a little bit of this taku taku. A tēnā ka kite koe ko te pau mata o hopea, ko te pau pau paitara, ko te kaho mata pū, ko te papa mo te wānui a tāne. Tēnā ko te pau mua, ko te pau roto, ko te pau muri, ko te pau whara ua, he ao tarangi ka māmā. Heke heke iho e te tāhuhu nui a tāne mahuta. Tēnā ko te kōwhai nguturua, ke te mango tipi, ke te mango pare, ke te tōrea ātai, ke te mana mana i a pū. This is a short verse of a taku taku that was handed down from generation to generation to generation, unchanged. We were forbidden to move one iota from that recital. That became our framework of everyday living. So when we enter the meeting house, it's almost like we're entering into a micro, or I think the word that's used these days is the nano world. So entering our whare is almost like entering the universe. And you heard the term that I used at the beginning, ko te papa, ko te kaho paitara, the kaho paitara. In the meeting house, they say that the meeting house was the embodiment of our ancestors. That means it has a head, it has ribs, it has a backbone. But when you look at the names of those parts of the body, it doesn't relate to the human names. Like in the whare nui, it's referred to a heke. You heard me refer to the name heke heke iho i te tāhuhu nui, tāne mahuta. Heke in the whare nui is the term they use for ribs. When we acknowledge a human being, we refer to the ribs as rara. So the meeting house will go through the whole place using foreign names. So it's almost like there's a whole new language or level of language of understanding. So the kaho paitara that's mentioned in this refers to the other term we can use, say, in modern day, in our ordinary language, is painuku, or the horizon. The pāpaka, which is from the painuku to the top of the popo that are standing around the wall, and the tukutuku panels. Pāpaka. We refer to that as the pairangi. And the tukutuku is a record of their star charts. So it's in that realm that navigation happens. Once the star goes beyond pairangi or te kaho paitara, it rises above the kaho paitara, get to the pāpaka, and then wanders off. But you wait and pick up the next star chart. And I'm going to end that little lesson in regards to the meeting house right there. So you can understand that that's a very small window into that world of understanding of our ancestors. It goes deeper. So when we have our speakers recite from Te Kore, you're getting a real understanding of our people's understanding of the universe through all of those energy fields that they travel. Different energy fields. Then we come down to name all te pōs, right to te pō ko te kōwhau. See, what the heck's that? Paul is the black, kōwhao is the hole. The black hole. How about that, eh? Our people were scientists ages ago. So I hope, that I was hoping to be here when the other speakers were going to be talking, like, was Hoturo, did he turn up? Oh, Jackie, oh, yeah. I could have related to what they were talking about a lot easier, but however, we're here now, and from that I'd like to go on to talking about Tuia 250. Just a bit of an explanation. Many of you would have heard it, or especially over this Wananga. But I'll describe it in the way that I related to it initially. I was approached by Kate over there, and Jane. Is Jane around? No, she's still overseas. If I would become part of Te Aumaria Trust, that was to organize the Bay of Islands landing site area. As Jane will tell you, I was very reluctant, and Kate. I was very reluctant to become part of it, and one of the reasons was I think the name that they gave me initially was the Sister Sectennial of the 250 years since Captain Cook discovered New Zealand. That was the name they gave me. And I said to myself, and they picked it up as well. I was very reluctant to join, and the reason was the country wasn't lost to be found. Yeah. But they took it back to, I think it was Jane and Hemi. Took what I'd said back to the national body, and on the national body, of course, was Hoturoa and all of those people. And I didn't realize that they were there watching that part of the kaupapa regarding Tuia 250, and that they agreed with what I said, and then asked through our committee if I'd be one of the representative for the northern landing site to go to Wellington. The meeting was hosted by Ministry of Cultural and Heritage to come up with a name that will be used nationally. So we gathered there with a representative from Whitianga, a representative from Ngāti Porou, and a representative from the top of the South Island, Tōtaranu. The Ministry of Cultural and Heritage had prepared for us to be there all day. So they had morning tea, lunch, afternoon tea, and our flights out after 5 o'clock in the evening. The meeting was over by 10:30. I was saying today that, when it happens like that, the wairua exists in that decision making, the wairua. And for me, that's a very important aspect, especially as Māori, in regards to whether this kaupapa is going to go well or not. And that's the name we came up, Tuia. Tuia, 250 first encounters, taken from that tau parapara. Whakarongo ake eo ki te tangi a te manu, te mātui. Tui, 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 tuia. Tuia e runga, tuia e raro, tuia e waho, tuia e roto. Tuia te here tangata, kaurongo te pō, kaurongo te ao. Tuia i te muka tangata, i take a mai, i hoi ki nui, i hoi ki roa, i hoi ki pāmāmau. Ka hono i te wairua, ka ki akea, kao, kao, kao atea. So for all of us, that, the first part of that tauparapara, was like establishing us as Māori as tangata whenua on Papatuanuku. And it's acknowledging a little bit that Tuia Runga is acknowledging the creation of the universe. Tuia Runga. Tuia Raro is acknowledging the makeup of Mother Earth, Papatuanuku. Tuia Waho is acknowledging the world that we live in. Tuia Roto i tuia hoki wena mea katoa kei roto. And once we establish knowing who we are, living as equals with the rest of creation, we can turn to the rest of the world and say, Tuia I te muka tangata I takea mai I hoi ki nui, I hoi ki roa, I hoi ki pamama. Then we can turn to the rest of the world to weave together the threads of humanity into one bond. Tā koina hoki te nui tēnei kaupapa kia tātou ni te Māori I runga hoki tēnara. Ko rere hoki te wairua. And then I began to see this is to us, a very, very important juncture in our history. And that we've had key junctures in our history. The arrival of Tasman, the arrival of Captain Cook, and then the arrival of the colonizers after that period. And each period, there was an important juncture. Te hainetanga o te tiriti o Waitangi was never. Whakaputanga was one. Te hainetanga o te tiriti. Now, I want to touch on this because the language that's traveling with Tuia 250 is this. Dual heritage, shared future. He aha te ahua tēnā. Ne? What does that look like? The last few years, our people have been, from my point of view, from observing the Treaty of Waitangi process as an observer. I deliberately stepped back from that. But what I saw on the faces of our people was pain. Absolute pain. And the main reason for it, it started dividing us. Their fences went up where there never used to be fences. Our tribal affiliations were ignored. Our whakapapa was ignored. So it is obvious that that process had nothing to do with the settlement of the treaty. We haven't got the right to do that. So we arrive now, we come through, through to the Māori wars. And I can feel the anger from our people. I feel it and understand it. But I'm reminded of a statement that Kawiti, after the battle at Rua Peka Peka, when he was taken back to Tōtaranui, just out of Whangarei. I won't go through the whole recital. When he said, "Takahia te riri ki raro I o waiwai. Trample your anger beneath your feet." What that tells me today, in our contemporary way of living, is that all of us, cannot afford to allow our children to inherit anger. So Tuia 250 to me is vitally important. It's got the potential of uniting all of us. And once we're united, what a power will exist in this country to set the example for the rest of the world. We as New Zealanders have got to be brave and stand up. Aroha mai. I'll now jump from that scene to the arrival of Captain Cook. I don't need to go over. We have people here who understand clearly from the records that were left on board the ship. I want to talk about when that waka, that kaipuke, that ship arrived into the Bay of Islands, led by those 4 waka that were fishing out by the Cavalli Islands. And I guess that first encounter there was probably what led to the next encounter. It wasn't quite on song as far as we were concerned. Because when the ship arrived, and you see it's in the records, when the ship arrived at Motuarohia, straight out from Long Beach, the locals there, quickly surround they say that there were about 34 waka that surrounded the Endeavour pretty quickly. And there were over 100 people on each of those waka. And those people observed others climb on board and then receive gifts. So that when the boy was thrown overboard, they thought, oh, that's ours right there. And got shot at for their troubles trying to pull it into their boat. So that was the first misunderstanding. The second one was when they went on shore. The surroundings, the wakas disappeared, but then all the people turned up on the beach. Again, the recital goes that Indians or the natives were standing down one end of the beach. Cook, Solanda, and a few others from off the crew drew a line in the ground, saying, you fellas stay on that side of the line, you'll be okay. And they explained that they could see that they were exciting themselves up to what they thought was an attack. One person will run out, they'll fire over his head, he'll go back. Then they'll gear themselves up for another attack, and out they come, fire over their heads, and they'll go back. The third one that runs out got a bit too close to the line, and he was shot in the thigh. His name was Coco. Coco was the youngest of 3 children. There was Tautahi, Taiharuru, and Coco. Our family whakapapa back to the whole 3 of them. So after Coco was shot, he was taken to Waikare for the purpose of ho-ho-rongo or ho-ho-te-rongo. and for a bit of an explanation, and in that process for a bit of an explanation as to why that happened. So they went through the process of ho ho te rongo, ho ho te rongo, ho ho rongo is to renew peace. And when they come out of that arena, everyone is left with their mana intact. Everyone is left with their mana intact. What my auntie didn't tell me when she passed that story down to me was before I said, an integral part of ho ho rongo, ho ho te rongo, is marriage. Okay? Now, auntie didn't talk about that. She just talked about the fact that they took Koko up to Waihaha, Waikare, to perform the ho ho te rongo. And Koko tukud his reiputa that he was wearing, the whalebone tooth that he was wearing. You know, Pakistan drew that image of Koko. He tukud that reiputa and his headu to Tuia. To our people, Tuia was the captain of that ship. He was the rangatira, which is the reason why they took him, to seal that peace between our people. Now, as you know, Tuia and his companion never made it back to Tahiti. They died in Indonesia, near from where you come from, huh?
I come from Myanmar.
Myanmar, cool. I like your kororo about the whakapapa there. It looked quite interesting. Because I'm breaking from my kororo here, Brother Martin, because you'll understand what I'm saying. You know, when we opened the meeting house up in Beijing in China back in 1986, the Chinese officials stood to acknowledge the opening of the building. There we only turned up to that meeting as well. And they said, those Chinese officials said, you know, many, many years ago, there's a group of people from South China left China to settle the Pacific. Meaning that's where the Maori came from. The wise speakers on our side stood to remind them that it was the other way around. So, ka nui hoki te mihi ki a koe. So that's the kōrero with Koko. And I put in a tono for 3 whale's teeth from Patuharakeke. One, and all of them I'm going to remake the reiputa. Kia ora. One, I'll be leaving with Patu Harakeke in Takahiwai. The other one will be leaving with Kapotai in Waikare. And the third one will be gifting it to the Tahitian waka. Yeah. To remind us of those connections that we had back in those days. That there were no fences, that we were all one people that time. And especially to mark this year as one of those, what do you call it, watershed moments? In the history of our, in the period of our history. That we lay down this kaupapa that's to challenge all of us. We lay down this kaupapa under the whakaaro of ho ho rongo. Ho ho rongo is that part of that process that actions the kaupapa, but it's actioned under the umbrella of maungarongo. Eh? So koe nei hoki taku mihi ka tātou ni tēnei ua, tātou my time's up. I got 2 minutes to go, and I might leave that over to a couple of questions, or one or half a question, and Martin can answer them.
Ai, tēnā koe, wari, tōku nei tātai. At the moment, our wahitaku, our past sites, our middens, and that are all under Heritage New Zealand. Do you think that that is appropriate in this day and age?
E tino hohonu hoki tēnā pātai e hori. Ka kite hoki ngā matau roto ki tēnā pātai. Hei maku nei, trai ana ki te Amerika. E te whakautu hoki tēnā pātai e te rangatira. Koine te nuinga tēnei tau, tēnei kaupapa ki mui a tātou nei tēnei wā, mai te Tuia 250. E kore tātou nei whakatika tēnei kaupapa ki mui a tātou nei, ko takau tātou ki roto hoki tēnā, te mea nāo I tukuna mai ki mui a tātou nei tēnei wā. So I am hoping that this kaupapa on dual heritage is acknowledged. Koina hoki te mea hohonu kei roto I au nei tēnei wā. That's deep within me, that desire to see that dual heritage come into existence. Because if it doesn't, that kaupapa is going to rise again and again and again for the next 250 years. Nā, koine hoki taku whakautu ki tēnā.
Tātai anō. Te roto te rā kaupapa, o wai te ramati.
Tō tātou nei tamaringi moko puna. Nā pai tēnā pātai hori. Ai, pai, tino pai haka hoki tēnā. Ai. Pai.
Tēnei anō te mihi atu ki a koe. E warahi. Pai ngā kōrero. Pai te rongo atu I ngā whakamāramatanga mō te kaupapa nei a Tuia 250. Nā reira, tēnei te mihi, tēnā koe, tēnā koe, tēnā anō rāko. A tēnā anō hoki tātou katoa, ko tai mai anō rā ki tēnei o ngā wahanga, koe whakakapia ke nei ka tātou hui hui. So I wanted to say on behalf of all, we'd like to thank Warahi for coming, and especially the explanation in Tuia 250, which we're going into in rather a rapid speed. And before we know it, it'll be right upon us. And so I love that explanation. Tuia I runga, tuia I raro, tuia I waho, tuia I roto. Tuia te mukatanga te takia mai Hawaii ki nui, Hawaii ki roa. Ki pāmama. Te hono ki wairua ki te whai au ki te ao mao. Tēnā anō rā. So I think now we come, just take a couple of minutes breather. I've asked for a panel of people to come up here and maybe we could include our
Nā te mea kai mō tātou a ko tai a tsu tātou, I te mutunga tēnei o tātou hui hui ngā hui anō. So what we wanted to do was to bring some of our some of our speakers back here. And please, no disrespect to all the others who are in the room who spoke as well. I just want to very quickly say thank you to you all. And it's really important. But before I get there, when Te Wārahi came in, he said, they got me down as a tohunga and a whakairo mea. And I'm not that. Now, you know the story he told about going to Beijing. So in Beijing, the reason he went there, because we needed a tohunga and a whakairo mea. So if you ever come back and say that to me again, because I took him. So we're not going to get out okay? Before we do get into our panel discussions, I'd just like Damien to have a comment about a kaupapa we just spoke about.
Tēnā koe te rangatira e te wārihi. I just was listening to you explain about Koko and Tupaia and your own thoughts about Tuia 250. And I thought I should share with everybody the way that kaupapa began at home in Turanganui-a-Akiwa. Because although the right people to speak about that are not here, I was there on that occasion, so I can at least report how it began at home in Turanganui-a-Akiwa, which was the first place, of course, where Cook arrived. And there, the hurt has been very powerful for a long time. Because, of course, as we all know, Te Maro was shot on the very first day as a result of a challenge, a wero that was misunderstood, I guess. And then the next day, Te Rākau, they came across the river and they were exchanging with the Europeans, and the exchange went to the point of grabbing a sword, and then Te Rākau got shot, and that's Noga Whakata. And then out in the water, another encounter. So those memories have been very powerful and hurtful at home. But the people that picked up this kaupapa, they could see the 250th coming. And they knew in 1969, when the government had, we're talking about who's the rangatira, I suppose, when the government controlled what happened at the anniversary at that time, it was very much a James Cook affair. And the stories of those shootings really never got addressed, and that history was never really told, and the hurt and the harm, the mamai, was never healed. It was never talked about even. And so the hui that was called, in fact, by Waitangi Pera, who's the potika of the Hahi Ringatu. He's the head of the Ringatu church. And by Rutini Irwin and a whole number of the kaumātua. And they could see this anniversary coming. And for some time before that, Waitangi Pera, who's a very deep kaumātua, he's, as you can imagine, the head of the Ringatu church, somebody that's steeped in the teachings of Te Koti, and that whole history at home. He had already set up a group called Te Ungamai, which was intended to try and it was all about arrivals, Te Ungamai, as you can imagine. And they started teaching the kids at home in the schools about the various arrivals, the early histories, and they put Cook in that context as one later arrival, and they taught them the history of what happened. We used to have services on the beach, and it was led by these kaumātua. And they didn't want another repeat of what happened in 1969. So they called this hui, and they set up the trust that was called by the kaumātua Te Ha. And they called it Te Ha because there was one moment in those encounters which was a peaceful one, was one moment in Turanga itself. And that's when, at one point, there was a haka across the river because Te Maro had been shot the day before. But this time, Tupaia was on shore. The first day, Tupaia didn't come ashore. So they had no mediator, no translator, nobody to advise them about the tikanga. They thought that they had reached the southern continent. They didn't realize Tupaia, I guess, was going to be useful. So they didn't bring him ashore, and everything went wrong. And so the next day they brought him ashore, and he was able to speak to the people who were doing the haka on the other side of the river, and they understood him, and he persuaded one rangatira, one warrior came swimming across. And he hesitated, he stopped, and he landed on, as they say, toka taio, which is a very important rock, marker for an arrival rock for waka, they say. And Cook, he swam across without his weapon, Cook put down his musket, and they hungied. And that's the story that's been passed down. So they call it Te Ha. And that was the name that was given by the kaumātua at the exchange of breath. That one moment in the midst of all the chaos and consternation and anger and fury. And so Waitangi has sort of gave that name to our local trust, and invited Sir Jerry Mataparai to be our patron. And Sir Jerry understood that history. The problem was when the thing went down to Wellington. So at home it was very much a joint effort. We had reps of all the iwi involved under the guidance of these kaumātua. It was about exactly what you said. It was exactly what you said. It was the idea of not wanting to hand over that hurt for another 250 years to the generations still coming. And that's exactly what I heard Waitangi Pera say on that occasion when it was first set up. So that's why I wanted to respond to you and say, ka tika, ka tika te kōrero, because it's exactly the spirit, the wairua in which the whole thing was established. When it went down to Wellington, I don't want to, Maggie Barry was our minister, and she was an enthusiast for Captain Cook. And so that was the kōrero that went out from Wellington. And every time there was a speech from the minister about Captain Cook, everybody at home went, oh, where? Like it wasn't about that this time. From our point of view, it was about te unga mai. It was about the whole deep history of our country. It was about the original arrival of the waka, and for those kaumātua, it was about trying to find a way of not, as you said exactly, about the riri, not wanting that to be a legacy forever for the younger generation. So I just wanted to, I know if Waitangi was here and those kaumātua, they would do it so much better than me, but they're not here. So I just wanted to say, ka nui ngā mihi aroha ki a koe, o tērā kōrero hōhunu, because that's exactly the same wairua that it began at home. And ever since it went wrong in Wellington, it's been hard to fix. Nā reira, ka nui ngā kōrero, kāti.
Kia ora, Ed.
Yeah.
Kia ora, Ed. And look, thank you for that. I'm going to take a liberty to basically do this. There is a saying, and you know it as well. E koreo e ngaro. E kākano, I ruia mai, I rangi ātea. I will never be lost, for I am sown for the seeds of Rangiatea. Now, what we've heard over the last 2 days is a voyage and voyaging that have come from Rangiatea, and voyaging here to determine the pathways there. And when I'm saying this, I want you all of you, to think very carefully about your answer to this question, and the question is, how whakaore Pāngi here now? Okay, so what are your thoughts as far as that's concerned? Tie it briefly to the things that you've already spoken about, because some of those are absolute pearls of wisdom, and I know that others who also spoke have pearls of wisdom as well. At this stage, I want to hear very quickly from you. You have about 30 seconds. Okay, so I want you to be really sharp in your response, and then when I say neke atu, then you just move this thing on. All right? So there we are. We're going to go with that. In the meantime, we will take a couple of questions, and I will be very discreet in how we look to get those questions. I will tell you that. But here we go. So, as you have just finished speaking, what's this?
30 seconds. Yes, the Kiore came from Raiatea, and the Waka came from Raiatea, but there are many islands in the Hawaii zone, so we have consistent DNA evidence that it's there, but it's many locations. So.
Now, in terms of the explanation of Raiatea, you can have anything you like in your head. It's about the connections you were talking about.
I just happy to see you all, and also I would like to share when I come, I intended to share some information about Malay ethnicity, and they are the very ancient ethnic group. Yeah, this was I want to share. And when I see the Maori people, I feel very interesting and make me motivated to such many of the historical facts. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My very brief thought about that is Tupai, of course, was from Raiatea, from Taputapoatea. And when he was involved in the encounters, in a way where he had real influence to shape what happened, there were peaceful exchanges, even in the bay, even at Whareongonga, but certainly at home on the coast in Tairāwhiti. At Uawa, he met up with the tohunga from Te Rāwhioro. So my hope is that the Wananga, the old Wananga and the new Wananga, as we've been exploring in our kaupapa today and yesterday, that they will also tuia. Yeah. Okay.
Kia ora. Well, I've been thinking about we've been celebrating a 250-year heritage. And when I think like that, I start thinking, well, what are the next 250 years? And so I'm just posing this question to myself, and I happen to be talking out loud to myself. So, right. I wonder what Aotearoa is going to look like. I wonder what Aotearoa is going to feel like in 2270. The answer to the question is, it depends what seeds we plant now. And if we think of the Kauri tree, which is I like to measure life against that, if we plant enough Kauri trees, by the next 250 years, that Kauri tree will be a healthy young tree. It only gets old when it gets to 500. So we can think again about being a new Aotearoa, or new New Zealand.
Kia ora.
Kia ora tātou. I know Rere Ata is luckier now, because he would be answering all in Māori because it means more. A te mea ko te pātai ke e hake te kākanoa e ruia mai e mātau. Koe nā ngā kōrero hia nei tātou i ngā rā ko pahure. If we're talking about planting seeds, these seeds have been well planted. I think it's how we nurture those seeds and how we make them grow. You know, we had an endangered species amongst us yesterday. And, you know, I did offer to list them and put them between kakapo and a penguin, a yellow-tailed penguin. But if I can start that with my kōrero and then I want to build on it, 30 seconds isn't enough time to try and save an endangered species. And I'm talking about tohunga and te wārehi, which will try and lead into your kōrero e te wārehi. We're an endangered species, tohunga, and so what are we going to do about it? Yeah. Tautoko ngā kōrero kato.
And you know how we said this is going to be a panel discussion, and I'm going to do something just a wee bit different in the audience, and it's like this. What new thing did you learn in the last 2 days?
Well, I think the main thing is about, I didn't really believe that there was so much east going voyaging, because I couldn't see how the trade winds would allow it. But then I remembered about El Nino, where it changes. Can I just say one thing that I really liked that James Iruera said? He said that the kauri and the whale essentially have similar constituents in their skin. Well, I would say, can we not think of the same, that we are all of the same, we share constituents of the same skin, and move forward?
I also think that's probably what the Wāhi was talking about today, so well done in that one there. What did you learn?
me, it's been learning about the traditional knowledge in a way that I've not encountered before. It's been marvellous to be in a situation for me where so much of the discussion has been Te Reo. I don't speak Te Reo, but I feel like I'm absorbing a lot as a result. That's been the main thing for me, to be honest.
Kia ora, Alex.
And I'm just going to run around here. Is he? Yeah, cool. How tall for that?
He's an archaeologist at the university. Not the university.
I found it very fascinating, and I just wanted to thank you all for your contribution, whether you were standing to speak or in the audience with us. The energy's been interesting, and now I learned so much. I wouldn't really want to choose just one, but one thing I can share is that you really helped me develop what I'm going to do with my PhD, and it's everything. So more that's our understanding that we are environment. There's no disconnection, and so all of these very helpful studies, from the bugs to the archaeology, the artifacts, to the DNA, and to the knowledge, is just amazing. And I'm immensely grateful because it's really going to help support our future developments for the future, for future heritage, as for human rights too, for a better country, and hopefully government will understand, and we can give us a very clearer, simpler form.
And you just mentioned your PhD. I'll send a list of everyone for the bibliography. And one more over here.
My goodness, kia ora tātou. So, te warahi he taraka, ko taku ankara tērā. I'm so proud to call him my uncle because we actually come from a tribe that they said doesn't exist anymore. Te ngare raumati, well hello, we're here. We won't get into that though, but you can Google that one later. I've learnt a lot about who I am as a hybrid. I am off Captain John Howe, who come off those tall ships and he went straight on the waka and hooked up with Henenuka. And he Betsy, well, look, we won't get into it. I might be getting names mixed up. I'm looking at Uncle Warahi trying to do a little graph, a little human graph. And I'm looking at Kipper. I'm not going to look at Bobby. Okay, my 30 seconds. All right. It's all about distraction, and it's about enlightening people and knowing that the connection is here. I'm glad that everybody's getting a little kata. You'll never know what I'm really thinking, but I will say I've had a good time learning from my generation to yours, and there's more to come. Kia ora.
Kia ora mo tēnā. Now, we do have a question. It's coming from Mr.
Mark and I and Oki are from the same place, virtually. Used to look at the same hills. Anyway, a question I'd like to ask. It's not about what I've learned. I've learned a lot sitting here today. There's one question I would like to ask, and I spent a year down at Palmerston North at Massey studying Te Ao Māori, pre-European and their politics. I have never heard, this is the question, I have never heard why the canoes never went near Australia. Yeah, the elders probably knew why they didn't want to go there.
I think
they probably knew what was there. But the fact of the matter is, the DNA doesn't go there. Nothing that I've seen and listened to today has told me why they didn't go there. That's the question.
There's actually a comment, and it says, "Tō tātou nei karewa." We are so clever. But listen, this is why I left them out, because me pehe.
Answers question.
I've heard, and perhaps the scientists can back me up, is that once New Zealand broke away from that land, there was no need to reconnect.
Would you like to add
that? Right. Questions?
Kia ora koutou. Just on that, one of the interesting things, I was talking with Ethel Anderson not long ago, and he was clarifying to me that there have been some Polynesian answers found in an archaeological context in Australia. So at some point, our old people did get there. And also there have been, there's been material from these Polynesian answers found in Norfolk Island. And so there have, one of the things about it, and just while I've got the microphone, one of the other really interesting things about it is when our old people got here, they also they got down to Bluff, and yet they carried on and went further south, don't know why, but went further south and actually got down to the Auckland Islands at the same time as Waitangi and Te Kamaui and Rekohu were settled. So they did move on further afield as well. Kia ora mai.
Te wako kaitahi, take the fun out of it all. Kia ora mate, thank you very much. Hey, listen, and so just over the time that we've had, there's been some amazing cordial. And if I go back into my list over here, so on Monday we started, of course, with the doyens of this particular hui that we're having here today, Manuka and Anne. I think really, thank you very much for bringing us together. Thank you very much for guiding us on that day one, and I think you probably need your own paki, so let me be here. And then I'm going to go down the list and go, mate. Alex Jorgensen, thank you very much. Matt Preble, our tohunga over there. And then we had Ross Ramsey and his dynamic team over there, Ross. We also had Bill Edwards and Robert Willoughby speaking on behalf of people who couldn't be here. And then today, of course, we've had Lisa Rawe, DNA. Guys, I'm sure it's a substitute for coffee, but DNA Rawe. Dillis Johns, Kia ora Dillis, Waka Renovation, absolutely marvellous. Then we had Dr. May, of course, once again, Richard Walker with Hawaii, Oki Simmons with Te Arawa and Tainui, John Booth, Obsidian, Dr. James Robinson, Mangahawea, and then, of course, this tohunga over here. Koutou katoa, me paki mai, no tātou. Sometimes when you have panel things like this, usually the best thing is have the karakia and then have your own panel discussions. Because I'm sure you have a lot to talk about and a lot to go into this particular event. Can I just say on a personal note, I won't be joining you tomorrow. I have to go do something else down the line tomorrow, but it's been an absolute pleasure being here. It's been rawed to listen to all the kōrero that's been going on. Manuka promised me that it'd be worthwhile when I came back on Sunday or something from overseas. It has actually been made. So I just want to say to you all, tomorrow, have a really nice day. Tomorrow, finish it well. And tomorrow, as we said when we started this, ko tātou e. I'm now going to pass this back because it belongs to somebody else, not me. Ki te tukuna te raki ki ai, ki tō tātou nei tohunga rangatira tēnei, ki te whakapi tō tātou nei.
Mihi te tutai,
No.
Pēnā tātou. Mihi ai whakapi. Mihi Taki tātou kia tuku taku taunga ki te kāinga.
Ka tira ko te ara hura tēnei kia toko tunu mai te mana rotarangi e tūnei. Kia toka kia māhaki, mārire ki tēnei whānau nei e. Pikitia o te pati o te rangi e tuhu ana koe ko te whiwhinga ko te rawanga, toka anu, toka hea rino hea. Tohu iwi mai re, tohu e kore tae a te titiro. He ko te ku te manu e kore rawe e te ko iraira, he kura takai puna te manu e tūria pātiki apo ne, tango hea ke waihoana, hei tohu aroha nei e. He ngaro nei ki roto i te mati kuku ko tēnei hau te tupua te tēni hoi te kō te whare. Whakatau hiki te o tō tapu wai tua nei wahora me he kāhui manu. Te rā kaua whakatau he mūmu hau he a whātai, pēnei tai wheneke whenau oi. Kia rongo mai rā koe ngā hauruhi, haunenge, ngā hau e tuki, ngā hau e pūmaina. Whanātu au ka piki a koe ngā, whanātu au karaka i a koe ngā, koi ana whiwhinga, koi ana rawenga, koi ana puriti, koi ana tāwhi, koi ana whakarotua. Rotua te wai kia rotua te moana kia rotua, pikitia te moana te nui o te tārawatai, tuku atu au kia rere āmanu e tū. E tū ki runga, e tū ki raro, e tū ki whea. Tēnei te whenua, te rū nei, te tangi nei, kia iano ngaku haraka nui e. I eke ki hea, i eke ki runga, kia iano toronga tukunga iho, ko rangi ko papa, ko tāne mahuta i tokona i te rangi e tū iho i rungara. Ko hine kino ana hoki hua i te tangata ki te ao, whakarere ki, whakarere kōrero. Ko i hoki rā ko māui mua, ko māui roto, ko māui taha, ko māui pai, ko māui tiki a taranga i here ai te rā e tū iho i rungara. Ko whakatau ana ki te toa i tā maua, whiti i raua, tūmai te toki, haumi e hui e, tai e. Tēnei te tahi o ngā, te pai o tēnei mahi tuku, ngā whakawhetai a koutu kia tātu katoa rā, ko pai mai nei ki roto, ko roa te karakia he poto te kōre. Kia reira, huri noi te tātu nei whare, mihi kaua ke ana rā ki te mana whenua o te Ngāti Kuta Patukeha o koutu katoa, o tēnei rohe o Ngāti Kawa, ngā whanaunga o Ngāti Rahiri, a koutu katoa rā. Mihi kaua ke ana rā kia koutou, e te wārahi, koutu katoa e hori, tēnā koe, pai te kite ia koe. Rawe katoa te kite ia koutou, ko pai mai nei, ki te tui rā, e runga rā i te whakaoro, e tū hono kia tui a tātou, i raro i ngā tēne kaupapa, whakatū hono i a tātou nei iwi katoa. Tai noa hoki rā ki te oranga, mutunga, mo ngā moko puna anga rā e tū mai nei. E reira, huri noa, tēnā tātou katoa.
Wai.
Ke wai atu tātou wai.
Toro
mai.
Toro, ia.
Toro mai, toringa tia, hariru tia, toringa, iawhi pono, iawhi taku.